And good evening. We are joining you live on the Carolina Weather Group. It is April the 8th, 2018, about 6:24 now. We'll take you back out to live pictures. Our own Chris Jackson on the road right now in the Columbia area, and we will be checking in with him momentarily. We're also joined by Evan Fisher. As you've seen on our live platform throughout the day, we've been monitoring severe weather, and we'll continue to be scrolling that on the side of your screen. We've certainly had a line of thunderstorms that right now is continuing to move across the Carolinas. Let's start with a nice wide view because certainly we could get into each and every one of these cells coming on through right now. But the latest activity in the triangle with some severe weather now moving through just in time for the PM rush hour. We also have a line of strong but not currently severe thunderstorms moving across the I-77 corridor in Columbia. Let's start there. Chris Jackson, we know you're on the road. We're going to try to bring up your audio here. We're getting some road noise, but hopefully when you start talking, we'll be able to hear you over that. You're on the road in the Columbia area. Where are you headed?
Hey, James, maybe you can hear me now.
Yeah,
Let's
go
try
ahead.
it
We
now.
got you.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. So I'm on I-26 heading south down toward Orangeburg out of Columbia. I currently at the 121 mile marker. Spent the better part of the afternoon up and down I-26. Made it up to Clinton earlier, and had a couple nice severe thunderstorms up there, and had some pretty nice storm structure. Some gusty winds, some heavy rain. Haven't came across any hail as of yet. But currently heading south to some storms that are developing really from Orangeburg over to St. Matthews. And they're kind of discrete in nature and not congealed up in that main line. I just want to see what they're going to do over the next couple hours as we approach sunset tonight.
We appreciate that, Chris. We'll keep an eye on your live picture, and certainly, as the Carolina Weather Group has been streaming all day, we will continue to stream throughout the evening. We're in what we call alert mode, which is to say that we are here and monitoring and standing by for severe weather coverage, and we go ahead and initiate that at any time we see criteria where severe weather is going to be impacting a lot of the Carolinas, either North Carolina or South Carolina, and certainly that was a day like today because not only are we seeing it on radar, but we can actually show you the storm outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, which classifies the extent of the severe weather that we're expecting to see. And what you see outlined across a good portion of North Carolina is enhanced. That's an equivalent of a 3 out of 5. Slight is a 2 out of 5. Now, those aren't probability of seeing severe weather, but this is a 5-tier system, with 5 being the most significant chance of seeing widespread severe weather. And again, we have enhanced over portions of central and western North Carolina, but this too is a South Carolina event, and that's why you see a slight risk in place there over portions of South Carolina, and that's where we have our own Evan Fisher. He joins us from Charleston. Now, Evan, not only is there a slight risk for South Carolina tonight, but this actually will bleed past midnight for you guys along the coast there.
Yeah, James. So the storms are moving across South Carolina right now, as Chris was just showing us, and you had the radar up. Currently, there aren't any severe warnings out that I know of in South Carolina, but that risk is still going to be there throughout the evening. I will go ahead and throw up the futurecast, the future radar, for the next. There we are. The next 12 hours or so, and as we go through the night, we're going to see those storms and that line continue to develop over South Carolina, move east. Definitely some embedded thunderstorms, possibly some strong to severe. Main threat being high winds and hail. So the tornado threat is low, although not zero. So you can never be you can't count it out. And as we pass through the night, those storms are going to keep moving east towards the coast, start to fizzle as they get near the coast of South Carolina, but there will still be storms rolling through North Carolina, and they'll be heading out towards the Outer Banks throughout the night. And now we are at, let's see, 3 a.m. So at 3 a.m., we'll see light rain throughout eastern Carolina, maybe still a few storms near Morehead City. And so what else is there? Harker's Island. But besides that, right now we're still looking at the main threat of storms throughout the I-26 corridor.
I appreciate that very much, Evan, and that gives us an opportunity to not only correct that really jagged picture we're seeing on your air right now, but is a great transition for me to show you what is happening right now, because you mentioned that this line of storms will be continuing to push into the eastern portions of both North Carolina and South Carolina. And if we go out to radar right now and we hit up the radar out of Raleigh, we have two severe thunderstorm warnings right now. These are the only two warnings we have in either North Carolina or South Carolina at this time. We'll start with this one here to the north and east of Raleigh. This is going to very quickly start coming into the I-85 corridor, and this is a severe thunderstorm warning that goes for another 30 minutes for Warren and Halifax and Franklin counties. This goes until 7 o'clock. The hazard here being 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and this storm is last spotted near Lewisburg, moving northeast at 40 miles an hour. Now, we're not surprised to see that this severe thunderstorm warning has a risk of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, because that's one of the criteria you need for severe thunderstorm warnings. You either need that or damaging hail. We're getting a lot of lightning with these storms, but it's just worth noting that lightning, while very dangerous, is technically not a piece of criteria needed for a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go back out now to radar, and this is going to be moving into Wilson and maybe Rocky Mount if this holds together in the next little bit here. And this is a severe thunderstorm warning that also goes until 7 o'clock. This one for Nash, Johnston, and Wilson counties. Again, tracking a severe thunderstorm, this one with 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts and recorded nickel-size hail. It was last spotted near Clayton, located 9 miles east of Clayton, that is, or 12 miles north of Smithfield, moving northeast at about 45 miles an hour, so just slightly slower than a car is going to be driving here along Interstate 95 or 85, with radar indicated winds of 60 to 65 miles an hour. That is certainly damaging wind gusts, and that's why we have severe thunderstorm warnings out for those two cells. As we broaden out the radar, you can see that while those are the only two, again, severe thunderstorms we still have a leading edge of storms that has not yet made it into Fayetteville and is now going to be crossing Raleigh and moving out of Asheboro. And for the most part, this first line here is moving out of Charlotte, but we're not quite done with the rain. We still have some more discrete cells now moving back into the upstate of South Carolina. This main line, though, focusing on that primarily here, has crossed the I-77 corridor in the Columbia region. We'll switch down to the Columbia radar, get a little bit better of a picture. You're seeing a lot of it right now in Camden and Orangeburg, and this is going to be moving towards Bishopville and Sumter in the next little bit. And then, as a few minutes ago, as Evan said, eventually making its way towards the North Carolina and South Carolina coast. We can't rule out the chance of seeing more strong or severe weather tonight, although as the sun goes down, the atmosphere will begin to stabilize a little bit more than it did this afternoon. But certainly one of those key features that helped cook the atmosphere was that fog burning off, the clouds clearing, and the temperature rising this afternoon with those clear skies. It was like the atmosphere was a pressure cooker. Here in the Charlotte area, we got to near 80 degrees. Let's bring back in our panel that are joining us today. We have, again, on the road right now, chasing storms, is our own Chris Jackson. Chris, what was the temperature like where you were today? I know you were driving all across the region.
Oh gosh, James, before the storm got going, it was up to 83, 83. I don't know, 2:33 o'clock this afternoon. Right now my thermometer is showing 66. Of course, I'm up, that main line of storms. I'm actually coming into the backside of it now. Going to punch through in the next 20 minutes or so. But yeah, it got really warm. With that trough digging over the deep south and giving us a nice return flow out of the Gulf of Mexico. Nice warm, moist air. Really hope to give us some above normal temperatures, which is made for a really nice day.
And I will just point out to eagle-eyed viewers that Chris is not driving on the wrong side of the road. I think his dash cam is mirrored. But you don't have to fix that, Chris. Focus on driving. But in case anyone at home is wondering why he seems to be on the wrong side of the road, that is why.
I don't know what was up with that.
It looks to have been corrected now. You must have leaned over and hit a switch. Not a problem. Wanted to point that out. Evan Fisher, you're stationary. You are on the right side of the road where you are in Charleston. What was the high temperature like there today?
We got up to 82 a little bit earlier, so it's been a very warm and very balmy day. And the first thing I noticed this morning when I stepped out of the door was just how humid it was. The fog burned off pretty early on. By 10 a.m., the sun was shining and it was just heating up. And it really felt like a stormy spring day for the first time this year.
Yeah, it very much felt like summer outside. I had a couple people text that to me today, and I kept saying, yeah, that's nice, but that is bad news
Yep.
with regards to severe weather. Because let's take a look at some of the storm reports that are coming in from the National Weather Service office across the region. Of course, these get verified, so they're not coming in right now for the storms that are currently happening, but these are the ones that have verified from earlier today. They come in from a variety of sources, such as emergency officials, storm spotters, social media reports. In the Columbia area, we have a couple wind gusts near 40, 50 miles an hour as we look down towards the airport, 39 on Lake Murray. So certainly that's enough to grab your attention, especially if you're out on the water, especially if you thought, oh, I'm going to get an early day on the lake here as one of the nice, really nice weather days we've had thus far. We've had a few reports of hail coming in, and actually we have that severe thunderstorm warning right now that is now making its way a little bit further to the north and east. But while it was over Spring Lake, we have reports of hail here in Anderson Creek, just shy of an inch, about 9/10 of an inch. That is certainly a nickel-sized hail that could do damage to outdoor structures such as trampolines and shutters were reported damaged here. And we also have another storm report that came in on the border of Harnett County, again, about 9/10 of an inch. We have 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts not too far from there, so that is a very typical severe thunderstorm warning. And the other one that caught my eye near the Virginia line, guys, was all of the reports of downed trees that came in here in Caswell County. Multiple areas, all reporting trees down and power lines down. This one on Cherry Grove Road and Marsh Graves Road, and another near Roxborough as well too, where a train spotter reported not only trees down but also large limbs, power lines, and this was including at the Country Club. Actually, Chris Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, speaking of Country Club and golf, I think Augusta evacuated their golf course this afternoon with some of that severe weather rolling through there in the Georgia side of the border.
They did, James, and I was catching bits and pieces of it on Twitter. I was actually watching some of the practice round coverage live, and noticed how dark it started to get right before I left home. And I saw that they evacuated the golf course, and those guys down there with Augusta with the Masters, they run a top notch machine, and it's really good to see professional sports being so proactive to get people off out of harm's way during severe weather events.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we were cycling through on our live stream today while we were awaiting the severe weather was some storm preparedness clips we have from our Carolina Weather Group archive. And one of them was the interview we did with Mace Michaels, who's a freelance meteorologist with Minnesota Twins. And he actually notes in that interview that while he, as the on site meteorologist, will alert the stadium folks of severe weather, that's an example of a professional sporting entity that does not have a lightning policy. But as Chris noted, they were very proactive in getting people off the golf course today in Augusta, and that's certainly good news. Before I get too far from the storm reports, I wanted to pop them back up on the screen because I realized that I was neglecting reports from earlier today, and I wanted to let you know that if you are watching from upstate South Carolina, where we had some severe storms roll on through, you too have some reports of downed trees, and even into the Charlotte area and towards Belmont and Gaston County, you can see that amateur radio, ham radio, reporting trees down on South Point Road and Nixon Road. Ham radio was another thing we featured this afternoon while preparing for coverage. Hey guys, check this out. We had hail reports of over an inch and a quarter here in Rockingham. This coming in from members of the public and relayed by our media friends at WFMY. That is some significant hail, and I wouldn't be surprised, although the details aren't here, if there was some damage associated with all of that. Evan, have you
Yeah,
ever seen hail of that size?
I have seen it just a little bit bigger than quarter, but never as big as an inch, and that was in Charlotte. But Tim Buckley was retweeting a picture, I guess tweeting out a picture up near kind of the Raleigh Greens area, and it was significant, probably close to about an inch. So some areas definitely saw the severe side of the storms today.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're continuing to watch if you're just joining us now at 6:38 for more folks to possibly see some severe weather as we roll through the rest of the evening. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather across North Carolina, although I would say that maybe is now behind us for the most part for those areas circled there in orange, because as you'll see on radar, we do have that main line of storms now moving out past that and towards Raleigh and towards Fayetteville, but everyone else is still for the most part inside that yellow area of a slight risk, and that goes for a little bit longer, especially for the central parts of our two states towards the shore, because again, that line is still making its way now towards the shore, and that's why we still have at this point at least 2 severe thunderstorm warnings in the Raleigh area. You can see them on the side of your screen. Evan, that severe risk actually carries over through the overnight hours, and if we were to look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook for tomorrow, again, you guys are in slight risk. Is that because of the activity during the early part of tomorrow, or is there a renewed threat tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, so I believe we're going to be looking at another, like you said, another risk, and pull my radar, the NAM, forward just to make sure that I'm not giving anyone faulty information. But we're going to see thunderstorms throughout the afternoon tomorrow. Morning time, not really, more just light rain, light to moderate rain embedded inside a few showers. But by the late afternoon, going into the evening, more storms will be rolling through eastern, the low country of South Carolina and eastern North Carolina. So that severe risk is not gone by any stretch of the imagination. And as a matter of fact, we were just chatting behind the scenes in our Carolina Weather Group chat about, just how interesting the setup could be tomorrow. And if the clouds clear out in time, we could see some significant storms move in.
Speaking of the clouds, there's a live look at Charleston from the College of Charleston. You can see a few clouds, but we have blue sky, and that's one of those things that's going to help probably keep your atmosphere nice and primed for some storms this evening. As a weather nerd, I would anticipate you're looking forward to some safe but exciting storms.
Go ahead.
All you, go ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely. I cannot wait for it. It's been a quiet year. I was just commenting with our local, or the AMS president of our local chapter here at College of Charleston, that it's been kind of lame weather since I came to College of Charleston, and except for the 2 hurricanes in the fall. I don't want to say that those were lame, because they definitely were not. Those were kind of scary.
Yeah, we'll be back around to
That was
hurricane season probably before we know it. Right now, the early starts of the spring severe weather season. We're looking live. I think Chris Jackson is off the interstate. He seems to be on a local surface road. Chris, if you can hear us, where are you heading? He may not be able to hear us all
I
too
am
clearly. Go ahead,
in
Chris.
US 1. Can you hear me, James? Sorry.
We got a delay. Go ahead.
Do you have? Yeah, in US 176, about 5 miles outside of the town of St. Matthews. Just coming in right behind this main line of storms. That's just really, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 miles right in front of me. Trying to see if I can get back out in front of this line before it gets too dark. One noticeable difference is the lightning's really started to decrease over the last 20, 25 minutes or so, especially with the southern end of the line. So, as we get closer and closer to sunset, it looks like the ability kind of limited these storms' ability to strengthen to what they were, you know,
Chris Jackson, I'm going to go ahead and jump on in just because as you are off
an hour or two.
and we're losing a little bit of your cellular connection, but do stay with us. We were just showing folks actually your location on radar. Here again is that main line as it moves out of Columbia and towards Sumter and into Orangeburg as well too. We'll go ahead and zoom on in, and there's St. Matthews, and that's kind of where Chris Jackson is coming in now off the interstate. He's going to make his way through this line and hopefully get out in front of it, and while he does that, we'll continue to monitor his live picture to see if we can bring you any further updates. But yeah, go ahead, Chris. Did you want to try to break in with something?
Yeah. Sorry. While I was sitting back there at that stoplight, I checked briefly the radar on my phone, and if you have radar scope, or you or Evan one, if you look at the cell down Highway 321, Hampton, and it's heading over there.
Chris, we're going to try to piece that together as best as we can, but what we heard was 321 and Hampton, I think. Evan, do you have a atlas in front of you. Can you tell what it is he's looking for?
I'll run it through Google Maps. That's all I heard too.
Certainly, folks, as you're with us live, this is just kind of the nature of being out live in the field, and we'd rather bring you this than nothing at all. And hopefully, he'll get back into a spot that has a little bit more cellular connection. My best guess is he's trying to decide if he continues towards St. Matthews or south towards Orangeburg. Evan, looking on radar here, that's my guess.
Maybe.
And we have reflectivity, we have velocity. It will show us wind signatures, and again, not really seeing anything severe criteria. We're looking at about 30 miles an hour just north of St. Matthews, and actually not getting any readings right now out of Orangeburg. We are getting, though, from this Columbia perspective, some stronger winds up towards Camden. Oh, hey, I just stumbled across it. A little deduction by looking at what Chris was looking at. Yes, so we do have nearing 60 mile per hour estimated by radar wind speeds right now to your north, Chris, towards Camden. And we can see here that that continues almost as far north as the state line. And if I go ahead and I start to loop this a little bit, I want to try to show everyone at home the progress over the last few minutes or so. And this really, even over the last 4 or 5 frames, really seems to be holding together fairly well. So we'll have to wait to see if the National Weather Service thinks this meets severe criteria of 60 mile per hour winds as it makes its way in the next few minutes towards Bishopville. Evan, can you type that into chat to Chris? Because if he is getting the same audio from us that we are getting from him, he probably understood nothing of what I just said. But
I can hear you. I can hear you loud and clear, James. You got
oh,
me?
great, we got you now, and I think I delivered what you were looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you were just talking about with that those storms over near Bishopville and Camden, if you notice, it's really starting to get a backward C, a bow echo shape. So that's something to watch in the next 15, 20 minutes to see if that continues and it does reach severe criteria.
Yeah, and I'll show people on radar here a little bit of what you were just describing because that is one of those things that we will look for here as the storm starts to maybe try to get its act together and see if it flirts with severe criteria over the course of the next few minutes. Again, if you are just joining us here at 6:45, these are live pictures from Chris Jackson. He is in South Carolina right now monitoring the storms that are moving through South Carolina. As we look at radar, you can see that main line of thunderstorms right now is fairly organized but is not currently severe. We even have a few cells trying to get going now out ahead of the line. You can see this one discrete cell in front of McBee here and towards Patrick and up towards Chesterfield that is just kind of riding the wind out in front of this line that's moving on through. Let's return you now to the Raleigh area because we have some additional and some continuations of some severe storms that are going to now be pushing into the I-95 corridor. Let's take a look here at this from the National Weather Service. This is now going to include areas like Rocky Mount and Wilson, and we'll go for another hour or so until 7:45. A severe thunderstorm warning for Nash, Edgecombe, Halifax, and Wilson. A severe thunderstorm located near Elm City or Rocky Mount, moving northeast, still at about 45 miles an hour or so. Contains a hazard of 60 mile per hour wind gusts and nickel-size hail. Expect damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Any place where we see that 60 mile per hour wind gusts and nickel-size hail. Locations include, but are not limited to, Rocky Mount, Nashville, Wilson, Elm City, Princeville, and Pine Tops. Let's see what else we have in this area right now. We do have the city of Raleigh actually under a severe thunderstorm warning, and I think this came out just in the last few moments or so, about 6:44. The National Weather Service there issuing a severe thunderstorm warning that is going to be getting a good amount of our attention here over the course of the next few minutes because not only can you see on this leading edge, I'm sorry, I meant to telestrate there and not move the map, but you can see coming out of Cary and Morrisville and Apex that line of heavy rain. But I'm sure if we were to look at it here on velocity, we would see a little bit of those leading wind gusts that are going to be quite significant here as they come in to this region over the course of the next few minutes or so. Again, we're going to be watching for 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This does include Wake Forest, Raleigh, Knightdale, Wendell, Clayton as it makes its way towards the radar site. We have one remaining severe thunderstorm warning in this neck of the woods that goes for 12 minutes, and that's for Halifax County. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. But guys, I think right now our attention is going to be not only where Chris Jackson is remotely, but watching this as it moves into the Raleigh area, coupled with the weather stem cameras that we have in the area that will provide us a live look at what's happening on the ground. Bear with me here as I sort through all of the different cameras they actually provide us, but you can begin to see now this live look in Raleigh from NC State's stadium. Those dark clouds off in the distance is one of several live angles that we're able to provide to you at home via weather stem. And so we appreciate their view, their equipment that is up in the area as well too, because you can see that the campus right now is beginning to really get into that darkness as this severe thunderstorm warning begins to encroach.
James, can you take the velocity and go look at the or show it on near the Rocky Mount storm?
Yeah, absolutely. I can do that. And let me find where that is on the air here. Are you referring to this
Yes.
large area of white that seems kind of troublesome? So Sharpsburg, 72 miles per hour, I
Yes,
think is
that's
what
got
you're
high
saying.
return. That is, yeah. I don't have it on my computer, but I'm looking at it on my phone, and those are some nasty returns, very high numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is from Rocky Mount to the south, Sharpsburg, Elm City. You are currently experiencing radar estimated winds of 76 miles an hour. Guys, that is tropical storm force. To put this into perspective at home, this is like for the next few minutes being inside a tropical storm with very significant winds moving through the area. I would not be surprised at all if we got some storm reports out of this in the next little bit. Checking in right now with the National Weather Service chat tool that we use to see if Raleigh has shared anything new. And I'm actually seeing we got a Nash County, Sharpsburg, 6:39, so 15 minutes ago, recorded wind gusts of 55 miles an hour confirmed on the ground, which not only gives us confirmation what's happening on the ground, but I think gives some ground truth to what we're seeing at radar. Again, 76 miles an hour estimated by radar is up in the atmosphere. We know you have 55 down on the ground 15 minutes ago. I don't think it'd be out of the realm of a possibility that in the course of the last 15 minutes this was intensifying. We're seeing some of those really significant winds on the ground. Guys, if you can help me keep an eye on social and storm reports coming out of that neck of the woods, that would be very much appreciated. And a reminder to everyone at home that if you're in a safe place to do so, you can always tweet storm reports to us and the National Weather Service by using hashtag NCWX or hashtag SCWX, and we'll keep an eye on that. Scotty Powell is, I think, trying to get online with us. Scotty, are you with us? I still see you are on mute with no picture. With no video. We'll try to get to him in a minute. He's, of course, in the foothills of North Carolina, and we do want to hear a little bit of what he experienced earlier today. Chris Jackson on the road in South Carolina, are you now moving north towards that line that we defined a few minutes ago towards... Wait, I know this. You were heading towards St. Matthews, but now you're heading towards Sumter and Camden?
Actually, I decided to take a detour, James. With those storms, as far out in front of me as they are, and not having a real quick option to get there, I wanted to, check out the storm structure with the southern end of the line. And if you can see on my camera right now, I'm actually coming what in the chaser world we call the whale's mouth, and that's when you come out from underneath a thunderstorm that usually has a shelf cloud, so it gives you this impression that you're coming out of the mouth of a whale, and you can see that really nice tight gradient across the sky. And I'm actually driving towards Charleston, and I can see blue sky and fair weather clouds down toward Evan.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take another opportunity to pop up that live camera we have in Charleston from College of Charleston to show those blue skies that Chris is referring to, because we've shown you the stormy pictures from where Chris is and in Raleigh, but we still have blue skies in Columbia. And Evan, at last check, you still have that kind of warm stickiness outside with some birds flying by, some warm stickiness outside to maybe help those thunderstorms as they come towards you?
We do, yes. The fuel is definitely still in place. It's funny that camera is right on top of my building, so that is definitely what the conditions are like right where I am right now. So hopefully we still get some of those thunderstorms moving through, and we'd love to see some thunder and lightning, but hopefully no damage.
Yeah, it's your own personal sky cam there, the College of Charleston. It looks a little windy as well.
It's been very breezy all day, and I think there are some reports from Florence, South Carolina, out of their ASOS station. They had sustained winds in the mid 20s, gusting into the high 20s, low 30s, and that's pretty breezy.
Yeah, certainly. And speaking of breezy, let's head back up now towards Raleigh because I'm getting a little bit concerned here with this severe thunderstorm warning. When you were looking this afternoon, we had severe thunderstorm warnings that stretched literally at one point from Georgia to North Carolina across a band of South Carolina. And, all of those have their own dangers with them. But I think we're so used to seeing severe thunderstorm warnings that we forget that these can be life-threatening as well, too. And we're continuing to see here in the latest radar scan outside of Sharpsburg and south of Rocky Mount estimated winds of about 75 miles an hour or so, and that is nothing to laugh about. This is very strong winds here, again, about tropical storm force associated with a severe thunderstorm that will go for another hour or so for Nash, Edgecombe, Halifax, and Wilson. And again, we'd expect damage to roofs and siding in that area if what we're seeing on radar is certainly the ground truth, and we have no reason to believe otherwise. This is moving, by the way, to the north and to the east at about 45 miles an hour. And if we were to track just the core of wind here, you'll see it here in Leggett and Tarboro and Princeville, followed by Speed in the next 5-10 minutes or so, and you can see it on your screen there. So again, some very significant winds. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning, albeit its own beast. With its own winds, not quite as strong as what we're seeing out there, but something to note as well too. Now coming into Raleigh, and guys, I'm going to go ahead and take another opportunity to check out our Raleigh camera because I think the weather in Raleigh is about to turn on a dime, and we have a number of angles we can look at. This one from NC State. I actually have a tent here and a scooter going by, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens to this tent. You can already see it blowing around a little bit there. But, tents are certainly a temporary structure and ones that don't tend to withstand storms all that well. Not to critique their tent assembly, but it'll be an interesting observation as some of those heavier rains move in. Chris Jackson, I'm looking out of my corner of my eye at your picture as well too. Did your camera just refocus, or did it get significantly darker where you are?
Yeah, it's got a little bit darker, James. I see some low-level clouds, commonly referred to as scud, with some rising motion. So we may have a storm trying to develop literally right above me. And over the last 5 minutes or so, it's gotten significantly darker. But I should be out from under this in about another 10 minutes or so. And once I'm able to turn around and face back toward the storm, it should be absolutely gorgeous.
Chris, are you hoping to do that before you lose all sunlight?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm going to pop up on radar a little bit of what Chris was just referring to here. This is the general vicinity of where Chris is. And I actually want to point something out here. You can see the leading edge as kind of this ghost, if you will, coming into Bowman here, where you have some returns on radar. And that's what Chris is trying to get out ahead of to then turn around and look back to the west at these storms. And so we'll continue to check in with him as we do so. You can also check in with us by commenting in our live chat, whether you're watching on YouTube, Periscope, or Facebook. Those all come into a dashboard for us to monitor what's going on in your neck of the woods. Matter of fact, I'm going to take a glance at those right now as I put back up on the screen. I think that tent in Raleigh, I think, is my current focal point. Evan, anything catch your eye coming on chat, radar, social, or otherwise as we see the rain picking up in Raleigh? I think I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you, Evan Fisher in Charleston.
Aha, I was muted. It's a classic Scotty move. I noticed a tweet from Brad Panovich that was using a drone to take a picture of this quote-unquote haboob, which is, for those who don't know, a dust storm, a fancy word for a dust storm.
And also
in
the best weather
southeast
term there is.
Yes, in Southeast Charlotte. And it was actually made out of pollen because there's so much pollen moving through the area. And I retweeted it
Ah,
on our Twitter social page. So, James, I don't know if we can get that pulled up at some point, but it looks like what you'd expect to see out in New Mexico during a dust storm, but far, far, far worse.
I have the tweet coming up here momentarily, and I have so many buttons in front of me. It was taking me a moment to find it, but here it is. Thunderstorm from Brad Panovich. And yeah, you have it. It's a pine pollen haboom. And I can say, living in South Charlotte, I was literally watching the pollen just get washed down the street before in just a massive pile of gross dust. Although I know I recently used the word gross on social to describe pollen, and someone pointed out that it's very important that we have pollen and it plays a very important role. Yes, I just wish I was inhaling less of it. Scotty Powell, as you come in and join this conversation, we're going to continue to monitor some of those severe storms in Raleigh, but tell us what you experienced in the foothills.
It's been much of nothing here. We've had a few thunderstorms that rolled through between 1 and 2:30, but really nothing major here. Just some rain, lightning, gusty winds 10, 15, 20 miles per hour. But overall, the enhanced risk for the foothills did not work out. And I think the severe thunderstorm watch has has been canceled for this area. So not much here going on in the foothills, James. I can't. I'm still trying to get set up here. I just got in from work, so if you'll give me just a little bit.
I'll get it, hopefully. Hey, James, thank you. So I'm trying to pull up the severe watches, but unfortunately, I actually don't know where to go to find the big
That's
picture.
okay. And I
But
just
that's
realized
okay.
everything I said was on mute. So let me again welcome everyone in here at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. You're watching severe weather coverage on the Carolina Weather Group. James Brierton in Charlotte, Evan Fisher in Charleston. We have Scotty Powell in the foothills. We have a very mobile Chris Jackson who's out and about chasing the storms. We are continuing to monitor this line of storms that brought damaging wind and hail to many parts of North Carolina and South Carolina, as well as holistically across the Southeast today. Right now, this line of storms is impacting Raleigh and Rocky Mount, where we have our only two warnings in our area right now are in those two areas. As we zoom on out, you can see that line of thunderstorms making its way across North Carolina, and I'll switch to the radar in South Carolina to show you where that is as well too. But right now, the only two warnings we have are actually in that Raleigh area where we're watching for, again, damaging wind moving in over the course of the next few minutes or so. I think I can show you the watch here on this link that I'm loading up on the screen right now. And again, as this line of storms moves through the region, the watch is being kind of cut back on its rear flank. You can see that we still have the watch technically here in Mecklenburg County, but I wouldn't expect to see that much for much longer. All the areas in pink, again, are that severe thunderstorm watch that go from Virginia Beach in Virginia, down Interstate 85, including Durham and Raleigh and Rocky Mount into Charlotte and into the Columbia area as well too. But I think again, even now Columbia outside of this main line of storms, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see this watch cut back a little bit. Evan, are you expecting any sort of watch for the coast?
I lost your audio. Come again, James?
Are you guys expecting any sort of watch for the coast?
I have not seen any mesoscale discussions come out about that. It's definitely possible, although I would expect that there's a better chance tomorrow afternoon and evening, as we've talked about before, and since some people are just now joining us, there is another chance for severe storms across the low country of South Carolina and eastern North Carolina tomorrow afternoon. The SPC has issued a slight risk of severe thunderstorms over that area. So once again, we're going to be looking at a similar situation to today, just a little bit farther east, and the chances for severe are a little bit slimmer than they were today.
Appreciate that. Here's a live look at this hour here at 7:03 from the WeatherStem camera at NC State, where the severe weather is now moving into that area. Again, this will move out here in the next little bit. We'll be watching this threat as it rolls closer to the coast. Another angle also from the same campus where we have actually a variety of these WeatherStem cameras and even some school cameras as we get a lightning strike here. Again, lightning is a big concern with these storms. And if you're near a thunderstorm right now that is not one that is severe thunderstorm warned, you can still get lightning because lightning plays no influence on deciding whether or not a storm is severe. Severe thunderstorm is damaging winds and hail. So if you can hear thunder, you're close enough to be struck by lightning and should be seeking shelter inside immediately. Again, we'll also have some heavy rain, and we'll watch as some of these storms now move into the Raleigh area. We have more rain back behind that as well too. Even the upstate right now, it is raining there, so the flood threat is non-zero as we'll be watching some of that. Scotty Powell, is that something you guys are watching even there in the mountains where the terrain maybe would play a little bit into the flooding threat?
Actually, I honestly, this has been an underperformer for Western North Carolina. We maybe have had a quarter to a half an inch of rain, but that threat has also decreased. Really nothing going on here in the western part, and really not expecting anything. We'll see what tomorrow brings, but what really catches my attention, I finally got all my radar stuff and everything set up. So it looks like right now, this is primetime traffic time for Raleigh. If you have ever traveled through Raleigh on Interstate 40 or any of the area interstates around that area, this is a dangerous time, and a lot of heavy rain moving through the Raleigh area, getting ready to move into the Gardner and Knightdale area. And that could also be accommodated with some gusty winds as well. So that's something we'll have to watch. This severe thunderstorm warning goes on for at least another 35 minutes or so. That will have to be watched. James, I saw your message there. I can take over for just a little bit. So also a lot of lightning going on with this cell, and it's kind of bowing out just a little bit. So if you live in the Knightdale community, over towards Wendell or Zebulon, even down towards Clayton, where the actual radar is located at, you could probably see some gusty winds moving into that area. As James is taking off, Chris, I'm not sure where you're at right now, but we can definitely go down towards South Carolina, and it looks like if you live between the Columbia and Darlington area there on Interstate 20, you're especially seeing some heavy rain and some lightning, thunderstorms near the Hartsville area towards Cheraw, even moving into the Darlington and Florence area as well. And then more storms, Evan, as you was talking about, with the environment still being a little bit moist down in the Charleston area, some storms near Fairfax and Hampton, South Carolina, heading towards Walterboro. So that's moving closer to the Charleston area, maybe still an hour to 2 hours out. But these thunderstorms continue. And if we look back into Western North Carolina, I'll kind of hit on that for just a second. There's not really much going on, and there is a thunderstorm complex moving through the Rutherford County area, just south of Asheville. That's going to be moving into Rutherford and Cleveland County. It does have a little bit of lightning associated with it, but nothing too major on the severity wise. So that's kind of a look around what's going on here in the Carolinas. So I'll bring you guys back in. Chris, I'll let you go first. Tell us where you are and where you're headed towards. I think Chris is going through a
All right,
dead.
so right now, Scotty. Oh gosh.
There you go. We got you better.
Yeah, I'm kind of over between Bowman and Santee, really close to I-96. And what I did, I turned on a couple of side roads here. I was just checking GPS, and I should have a great view back off to the west here on this little dirt road. It should be a here. And I'll be able to show you guys this just absolutely gorgeous shelf cloud. Like anybody that knows me knows I love shelf clouds, and this one's a winter chicken dinner right now. But yeah, I mean, going back to the weather at hand, Scotty, uh, really south of Columbia, most of these storms that are ongoing are behind this big outflow boundary that's causing this shelf cloud. And you can see the trend is for them to be weakening as they encounter some of that cold air, and that's just undercutting the updrafts. And here we go. Let's see. Oh,
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
and this goes across the entire sky from one horizon to the other, and it is just absolutely phenomenal.
That is a good shot there. Just a little brief update. The National Weather Service out of Raleigh has canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for, let's see, Nash and Wilson County in North Carolina. So the severe thunderstorm warning for Nash and Wilson County has been canceled early. Excuse me. The severe thunderstorm warning for Edgecombe, Halifax continues until 7:45, as well as for Johnson, Wake County as well in eastern North Carolina towards the Raleigh area. So if you live in Nash or Wilson County, that severe thunderstorm warning has expired. And that will be some good news for those folks. So that's kind of like the Nashville area over towards Sharpsboro, Rocky Mount, kind of the higher dense populated areas. So Rocky Mount back towards Nashville on Highway 64. Your part of the severe thunderstorm warning has been canceled early, but we did get an earlier report of a 55 mile per hour wind gust from the ASOS station just in outside of Sharpsburg. So that storm at one time did have some gusty winds with it, but just kind of looking back, kind of re-racking. I'm not sure. I've kind of been out of the loop for the past couple of hours, but for at least Western North Carolina, we really didn't see a lot of severe weather. I know there was some severe thunderstorm warnings up for Mecklenburg County, Cabarrus County, Gaston County, places like that. But again, nothing really major in our department. We wasn't really looking for tornadoes. This was going to be more of a damaging wind and large health threat, but really, at least for Western North Carolina, hasn't panned out like we were thinking. And I've lived here all my life, and I know when you expect severe weather and you wake up to cloudy conditions and it takes till about lunchtime for those clouds to thin, that's going to kill your instability. And that's what happened today. We really didn't clear out. And when we did, an hour or afterwards, those storms started rolling into the area. So we didn't really have a lot of time to kind of destabilize the atmosphere. So that was the case here in Western North Carolina. Chris, what's it been like for you in South Carolina today?
Scotty, there was a couple little embedded segments, especially north of Columbia from the Newberry over toward Clinton and down toward Greenwood that went severe. And I did see a few reports of wind damage, but nothing significant. And as the storms really approached the Metro Columbia area, they really began to weaken as they were just being undercut by this huge outflow boundary right here. And other than that, it's just a stormy afternoon.
Yeah, it's not been too bad here. Watching a new storm develop. Let me, since James isn't driving, I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way. Let me screen share my screen here, and we'll show you what's going on. And Evan, please feel free to jump in. We're watching this new cell that's developing here near the Farmville area. This is on Highway 264, just outside of Greenville, North Carolina, where East Carolina is at. I've noticed this kind of a hell core starting to develop on the storm. That means the storm's starting to grow and really get into some of the colder parts of the atmosphere, we'll probably see some increased lightning potential, as well as the storm starting to strengthen. And as all these storms are doing, they're moving off to the northeast at about, let's see, I don't know what the storm motion is. Let's see. I can't get that to pull up right now, but the storm motion is probably about northeast, about 30 to 40 miles per hour. So this will be moving into the Falkland area, also towards Bethel and Robersonville. So that's some areas that you'll want to watch. And what's likely happening is you've got this storm complex over the Tarboro area, and as it starts to collapse a little bit, it brings out some cooler air, and that interacts with some warm air away from the storm that's not really been touched yet, and that's where we start to see these new cells develop. So we'll have to watch this area near Waltonburg and Fountain over towards Farmville into Greenville as this storm starts to move off to the northeast. That could be our next stronger thunderstorm to develop. We'll go back here into the Raleigh area. Now, this is the just outside of Raleigh, the I-40 loop. You have the worst of this storm is now past that area. This is going to be on Highway 64 between Knightdale and Zebulon over towards Middlesex. That is where the kind of this storm is really starting to bow out. We'll go over here to the velocities. We'll see what the velocities look like. And then we got some rage folding right here. So that's some bad data. But as you can see in this area, we're looking anywhere between 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. It's going to be on Highway 64 as it pushes into the Zebulon area. So if you live on Highway 64 or know someone in the Wendell community, they're likely going to see some stronger winds move in within the next little bit. Evan, what are you seeing?
Hey, Scotty. Sorry, I have to move in locations. My camera is gone, but right now the sun is starting to get low in the horizon and the temperatures are starting to cool down. But the dew points are definitely still high. Oh, it's darker than it was earlier. The dew points are definitely still high, so there's still plenty of storm fuel. As we head into the evening, we'll be looking at more storms developing, probably coming out of the southwest, heading towards Charleston. There's actually a few stronger storms down near the South Carolina-Georgia line that I was just looking at, and there's definitely some hail cores in them and some strong winds. They aren't warned yet, but those are going to warrant some watching as we head through the evening, and possibly some warnings from the National Weather Service office in Charleston.
Very good. Looking at some of the data here, the latest data from the Storm Prediction Center. Let me see if I can pull this up right quick. Again, I'm normally not driving this. This is normally what James is doing, but we'll give it our best shot. So as you can see, this orange area right here, which still includes Western North Carolina, but I'm going to say if you live anywhere west of Greensboro, your thunderstorm potential is over with. This is still an enhanced area of thunderstorms. This will be going into the Roanoke Rapids area as we go throughout the afternoon and evening. I'm trying to see if I can turn this opacity down so you can see it a little bit better, but I'm not having that best of luck. But again, that is where we're seeing it. Let's turn that off, and we can look at some of these damage reports. As you can see up near the North Carolina-Virginia line, a lot of wind damage reports coming out of this area just south of Danville. And then we have a wind report outside of Durham. And then we also have some wind reports along the Interstate 95 corridor towards the Clayton area, as well as Wilson's Mills. So this is just outside of the Raleigh area. As you travel on Interstate 40 towards Wilmington, that's where they're seeing some of these damage reports as well. Not a lot of hail reports. Looking back, there was a hail report in York County. Here's another hail report in Moore County on the border of Harnett County. So that looks to be the only hail reports. Here's another one in Durham County. Again, these are all under a quarter size hail. So not really a lot of large damaging hail out there as well. As we look through South Carolina, we're having some issues here. It's not wanting to load, but South Carolina, we've also seen some wind reports, but again, nothing too major as well. So as we go throughout. So let's go over here to our radar. We'll get a radar scope. This is a little bit better to see. Let me get the radars turned on here, and we will go to Raleigh. We will show you there's still 2 severe thunderstorm warnings going on. This one includes Knightdale, Wake Forest, heading into Clayton, down towards Holly Springs, and then the other severe thunderstorm warning right now includes the Tarboro area. But this is the area that I'm going to watch. This is between Fountain and Farmville towards Greenville. That cell really starts to look like it's starting to pulse up a little bit. So we will monitor that. Let's go over to the velocities. We'll see what the wind speeds are looking like right now. Nothing too major. I don't see anything that really stands out towards to me. So that's some good news. But again, this is the area. If I think we see another warning, it would be for the Walsenburg, Fountain, and Farmville area towards Greenville as these storms progress. So that's what it looks like right now. Chris, what's the latest where you're at?
I believe we've lost Chris.
He is gone. So I'm not sure our length of coverage here. Evan, do you know what we're supposed to? How long we're going?
I don't know. I don't even remember when we started, to be honest.
All right, so we'll continue to talk. We'll kind of talk about what to expect for the rest of the evening. We've got severe thunderstorms in eastern North Carolina right now. I think if you live west of Greensboro down to Charlotte, down towards the Columbia area, we are going to kind of give you the all clear sounding for severe weather. You can still see some thunderstorms, but I don't think that we will see anything major. And if you live east of the Raleigh area, where you continue to see the threat for severe weather, especially up in the Roanoke Rapids area, up towards the North Carolina Virginia coast, Virginia border, I think that's where we'll see our biggest severe weather. And for South Carolina, I'll let Evan kind of give you the latest on where we can expect to see severe weather.
Yeah, Scotty. So as we head through the evening, we're going to see the storms continuing to move into the low country of South Carolina and into eastern North Carolina. Some will still be strong, just at hail and strong winds. The main threat is still obviously those two, although we cannot rule out a tornado. Again, as we head into tomorrow, there'll be another risk, or slight risk, of severe storms across eastern North Carolina and the low country of South Carolina. And there's another opportunity for us to see more of the same thing, although the severe threat may not be quite as strong as it was today. And that is pretty much what we're looking at over the next 24 to 48 hours. Scotty, I think that I was just talking with James, and we can go ahead and wrap if we'd like. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it. Continue to watch us tonight. If anything crazy happens, we'll break back in. But like Evan said, watch tomorrow again at the potential for another round of severe weather in the Carolinas. It does look like as we get into the Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, much calmer weather is going to be around, and we're still going to continue to hang on to those warm temperatures. So that's kind of a trade-off. At least we'll keep the warm weather around. I think, Evan, when I was jumping on, you were talking about pollen. And I really suspect with the rain that we've had today and the warm temperatures, not only during the day, but in the evening as well, we're really going to start to see things green up. And it's really going to start to look like spring around here really soon. So this rain going to help with that as well. So for all of us here at the Carolina Weather Group, for Chris Jackson, who's out in the field, for Evan Fisher and James Brierton, I'm Scotty Powell, and we leave you with a look at radar as we continue to watch strong to severe storms in northeastern North Carolina, but things seem to be trending down as we go throughout the evening. Have a great evening, and again, we will be back if anything warrants.